The whole of Africa has been buzzing with Ibrahim Traoré, and nobody wants to hear anything about any form of critique that wants to x-ray what Ibrahim Traoré has been doing in Burkina Faso. But today is not about Ibrahim Traoré alone, but it's for us to open our minds to the reason why leadership is failing in Africa. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm going to be talking about Ibrahim Traoré. I have seen Ibrahim Traoré and the way he got all kinds of support. I have tried to also compare Ibrahim Traoré with the other four Sahelian leaders. They call themselves Sahelian Alliance. They have pulled away from African Union and ECOWAS, and they are standing as Sahelian Alliance. He came through a popularly supported coup, and he has tried to mirror his lifestyle after the revered Captain Thomas Noel Isidore Sankara. And I have tried to look at Sankara's life. He's somebody I literally adore, and I've studied deeply into who Sankara was. Great leader, no doubt. A man who actually took over power because he was fed up with the establishment. Twice he had resigned as minister in different cabinets because he was not pleased with what was happening. But he understood the pains of the people. He saw how underdeveloped the people were. He saw the deficits in terms of development. So when he got into office, he began to reverse all the trend. And we saw the sincerity of purpose, we saw the speed with which he did it, and he also started with himself. When Ibrahim Traoré got into power, the first thing he wanted to do was to mobilize the people behind himself using Captain Thomas Sankara's strategy. One thing I saw clearly from Ibrahim Traoré and Sankara is that while Sankara did not in any way close the doors towards imperialism, this guy does not want to deal with any other person. He wants to deal with only Russia. Sankara was open to even those whom he thought owed him, people like France and all that. He was open to getting support from France, provided it was at no cost. He wanted France to support the same way he was going to Moscow. That way, he wouldn't go to Moscow. In that era, let's not forget something. It was very difficult to even take out a leader compared to right now. Secondly, the people of Burkina Faso didn't have so much option, and that was why France was also unperturbed about what was happening. I'm not coming here to defend France, neither am I going to take sides with them in this matter. But one thing I realized was that Moscow did not take anything from Sankara. They did not exploit Sankara, they only wanted to support him, and they did support him. But what is Ibrahim Traoré doing today? He's giving Russia the rare earth minerals of Burkina Faso. He's lining his pocket as well with the resources of Burkina Faso. And he's also shutting down critics. And this is how he's doing it. The journalists and others who critiqued him were sent to the war front and they were unalived. There are cases and reports of human rights abuse under this guy. And that's a sharp departure from Sankara. Sankara may have had decent opinion with those who criticized him, but those that were corrupt, he had a way of trying them in court of public opinion. And they were meant to refund money. Sankara did not only ask people in government to reduce their money, he started with himself. He also didn't live a flamboyant lifestyle. He wasn't carrying everyone and that crowd around everywhere he went. He lived an austere life and he consulted the people before taking major decisions. He tried as much as possible to carry the people along. As we speak today in Burkina Faso, we cannot say Traoré has succeeded in waging war successfully against the Islamist jihadists in Burkina Faso. The insecurity in Burkina Faso is even at an all-time high. Just recently was when he decided to have a meeting and have a joint security network with Ghana and neighboring countries. These were the people who called themselves Sahelian Alliance, and they were not ready to partner with AU and anybody from ECOWAS. They wanted to be with themselves in that region. I understand that democracy must not be the way out. I know Africa, particularly Nigeria, has practiced some sort of governance system that worked and was effective in the past. But the military in government is always not the way out. We saw how it affected Africa for the longest time. We saw how it affected Nigeria as well. But one thing I also realize is this. We tend to praise leaders who embrace populist movements like Traoré a lot. We saw that in Gaddafi. We made excuses for Gaddafi, forgetting the fact that Gaddafi was one of the leaders who contributed to the death of Sankara in Africa. We saw how Gaddafi kept abusing human rights in Libya. We saw how Gaddafi was SAing women and how he kept them as sex slaves. And it was reported that Gaddafi was a maximum ruler. Yet Africans will continue to revere and make references to Gaddafi. Even General Sani Abacha till date It's been revered in Nigeria. So we must begin to take away these things from our mind and agree with ourselves that there's a fundamental problem with leadership. Because we have been starved of good governance all across Africa for a very long time, we think anyone who comes into power with propaganda, with a lot of information that is misleading, is the true leader in Africa. This man does not speak English, he speaks French. But I've seen a lot of AI videos that kept sending all kinds of narratives. And let's be clear and let's understand something today. Russia continues to pay a lot of African bloggers, and they're spinning a lot of narrative in favor of this young man. But a lot of us don't know because we don't read beyond the headlines. We just read what we hear and see, and we say, yeah, that's what it is. But one thing we fail to also understand again is that when these guys are done with Russia, they'll come back to you, justify why they need to go back to their ex, because their ex will be able to facilitate some sort of loans for them. And you all will follow them just like it's always happening. We remember some of these African countries began to run from China to embrace IMF. And what happened? IMF would call them and give them loans. And we stopped blaming the West at the point. For how long are we going to be played like footballs by our leaders? When are we going to say enough is enough? We need to begin to understand and adopt the kind of system of governance that works for us, that will accelerate our development as Africans. If you say democracy is not a thing that works for you, military dictatorship is also not the way out. What has Traoré done in the last 2 years of his administration that is remarkable? There are those he chased out of office didn't do. What is the guy in Chad doing that his father did not do? What is the guy in Niger doing? They are all selling resources of their country to Russia. Congo and Russia is in a kind of marriage that may boomerang sooner or later. Russia is investing in gas pipelines to Russia, and Russia is going to control 90% of that arrangement. So in other words, Russia is going to be controlling their resources. When will Africans begin to control their resources and own their resources? These are the kind of conversations we should be having, and not sharing people who are lining their pockets and comparing them with the Sankaras and Patrice Lumumbas of this world. They don't come close. Their approaches are not the same. The strategies are not the same. The sincerity of purpose is not the same. All you read and all you share are just the handiwork of Russia. Russia pay our bloggers. Russia pay people who are writing good stories. Have you gone to verify what's happening there? Have you tried to ask questions, people who are on ground there? Burkina Faso today, you have two sets of people. Those who have been paid to hail the administration and those whom they have tagged militants, those who they've tagged terrorists. That is what is happening there today. But a lot of Africans could continue to cheer on because we are moved by the things we hear and not the things we see. For all the things we've been hearing, how many of us have bothered to research beyond what we listen to? Have we seen results beyond the things we've been told? I think for us Africans, we need to sit down and rethink again. The world is leaving us behind. We have our resources. The problem with France and Russia and America and the UK is not our problems. But we are always the cannon fodder, just like the 5 Sahelian countries are the cannon fodder between Russia and France today. I'm not in any way defending France. I have a problem with France. Who does not see anything wrong with a 90-something-year-old man who is trying to run for another term of office in Cameroon? I believe that these Francophone countries should be able to decide where their foreign reserves ought to be. What are they doing beyond their populist statements? Let's even learn from Sankara. All the things Sankara did when he was taken out. Did anyone build on what Sankara did when he was alive? Nobody. Have you asked yourself if any of the 5 Sahelian leaders are taken out today? Have they built any sort of sustainability around all they told you they say they are doing, assuming if there's anything on ground? We need to begin to ask and think critically because this is how leaders also need to think. You must not go and study leadership before you understand what these guys are doing are not sustainable. It's not in the interest of their people, and they have no plan whatsoever as to transition from where they are. We don't believe in democracy. I don't have any issues with that. But we also should know that military dictatorship is not any form of government. We need to be proactive. I'm not also asking you to stop hailing, but I'm asking you to think critically through what we see and read and hear about what these 5 guys are doing. There are no achievements, there are no results, they are not sustainable. These are populist movements that are just only self-seeking and in the long run will not advance the cause of these countries. I'd love to read your thoughts on this matter and I hope to see you in the next video.